So, tell me your name and your occupation, please.
Tom Dunn. I'm a hooker for Bath Rugby.
And England.
And England.
Mental health, what does that mean to you?
For me, it's probably got a bit of a term that means someone who's ill. But for what it means to me, actually, is someone who wants to improve.
Yeah.
So your mental health, you can be like anything, you can be normal, but you want to get better. Yeah, so you can use mental health to make yourself better.
It's like physical fitness. You
Yeah,
always at a level that gets
optimal
better.
place.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Cool. Have you gone through any situations yourself, mental health, like challenging situations?
You know, I wouldn't say I've had I'm very fortunate to have no event in my life to cause me to have any sort of mental health issues or any sort of challenging moments. But my most challenging moment for me would be like being selected, not selected, and that culture of being a professional rugby player but not playing rugby, or not having a purpose. Yeah. That would probably be the moments for me where I've had to dig deep to keep myself who I am
and your identity,
to keep my integrity. Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
For me, I think it's again about. So I struggled with not having a purpose really. So I wasn't picked, I wasn't playing, and then all your family think you're playing rugby, but you're not playing. And then anyone on the street goes, "Do you play for Bath Rugby?" And you're like, "Well,
you want to say yes,
you want to say yes, but I'm not actually playing." So for me, I think it's about finding a purpose. So whether it is doing charity work or whether it is getting a dog, but looking after your dog, or helping out, or having something else outside of rugby, having something to keep you busy, giving you a purpose, giving you a bit of a buzz. That's
probably a really good point though. That's like spreading your identity a little bit, because if you've just got that one singular thing, then once that goes, there's probably not much else to go for. But actually, yeah, that's a really good point actually. I like that. Rugby and the community and the way that they look at mental health and mental health fitness and mental health illness and so on. Do you think that's changed? Do you think people are more open to talk about it? Do you think the stigma behind it is kind of disappearing?
I think it is changing. I think it can change more, but I definitely think it is changing. I think there's big role models in the game like Joe Marler doing massive things for the game there. Yeah. But yeah, it can definitely change more. And I touched on it earlier with the fact that I don't think it needs to be like when you have a problem, you go and see someone for mental health. Yeah. You can do it to make yourself better. It's a 1% or 2% that can be used to aid performance rather than seen as something to fix someone.
Again, it's almost just like normal everyday integrity in sport, isn't it? Like your fitness, your challenging, like your tackle technique, anything like that, just the 1% better adds up. Same for mental fitness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any advice? I've got a question about any advice, and I reckon one of the good advice pieces you've already just given is actually maybe not do singular identity. I've just termed that phrase as a great one.
I like it.
But anything else that you think might be really important and good for people to note and identify themselves with, or to help with mental fitness?
Within rugby, yeah. I think pressure is a massive thing, and how you deal with pressure or where you perceive the pressure to come from. Yeah. So like a bit of a cliche saying is pressure is a privilege. So you got to enjoy it rather than see it as I have to get this right, I have to do this, I have to do this. I think enjoyment is massively part of that. So people talk about the word sacrifice as well, which I hate, because it's a choice. So if it's not the choice you want to do and you see it as sacrifice, then probably you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
So for me, it's that pressure element and what you deem as sacrifice, or that pressure you put on yourself, sacrifice you make yourself do. Just question it. Is it the right thing for you? Because how happy you are and how much enjoyment you have can be just as important as being lean or being skinny. So
it shouldn't necessarily have to be a sacrifice as such, thing like that. Yeah. What do you reckon, if you had to like push it back a little bit, and maybe within the community of rugby or even wider, would be the importance of breaking the stigma between the mental health and talking about mental health?
I think the biggest difference is people can get better. You can improve people. So even if that's down to grassroots stuff where someone's having a rough time at work and they don't speak about it, then now the speed they get over it or the speed they get through it is going to be slower. So it's not even so much the fact they're not going to work, it's how can you make them better, how can you improve them? So it's just bringing down that stigma where asking for help or talking about what you're feeling like, there might not be an answer, there might not be a miracle cure, but just the fact you've had that space to talk about it and that space to vent it could be what you needed to then get over it and to move through it quicker.
Yeah, I've always found actually that some of this conversation last night, that there's a lot of people that say, yeah, I'm open to mental health awareness and I want to talk about it and so on, but actually it's more sometimes they just want to listen about it or help other people. It's a tough thing of actually opening up yourself, because even though you might be pro to it, it still takes a lot of a backstep and a lot of confidence to actually talk about it yourself and so on. Yeah.
I think it's the judgment of it, isn't it?
Exactly.
I think, especially in a professional game, especially people look at you and they go, well, you're doing your dream job. You've got You earn really good money, and what you complain about, what you got to be worried about. What's there's bigger issues in life. But
1,100 other people that want to do the same thing, but you're the one that's selected doing it.
So you almost have that pressure again, and in rugby in general, you have that pressure on you to perform, and that's what people I think need to understand is there's more to it than just the rugby. There's so many other emotions attached to playing rugby that don't always get looked after.
Yeah, and there's always things about social media as well, where it seems to be like, if you take even wider than rugby, you got to seem happy, you got to seem to be living the life, you got to seem to be like flying everywhere and like getting all the fans on, and that's what people want to see. No one really often wants to see someone saying, actually, I'm bearing my soul out here a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably something to change as well. That's awesome. LooseHeadz, what's your view on LooseHeadz and what LooseHeadz is doing in the community and like the work they're doing?
It's brilliant, if you can have that that one person in every squad or team across the country who's not responsible but has an association, has tools or time to spend with people, it makes it an easy conversation to have.
Yeah.
Rather than approaching someone cold turkey and saying, I want to talk about this, and then almost on the back foot. If that person has that role and that identity, then you can go to them, and that one barrier has already been broken. When you're a rugby player, it's consuming, and people they see you as a rugby player.
Yeah.
They don't see you as myself,
Family
Tom
man.
Dunn, 3 kids, a missus, trying to be a butcher with one left hand. Do you know what I mean? So it's just that whole package, and the whole. Don't want to get on social media,
they kind of
fan trained, but like kind of like it's that. And you've got the way you play isn't also always the way you are.
Yeah.
I find there's a player who used to play here called Guy Mercer, who every opposition used to think was an absolute nose. They're like, God, that bloke is brutal, but he's one of the best blokes you meet. He was our team captain here a few years ago. So there's that breaking down what you see on the pitch and what you get in real life as well. I think that's quite important.
Splitting identity is more to the person that's just on the pitch. No, it's important. What kind of advice do you have for any players out there, anybody in the rugby community that might be feeling the need a bit of help?
For me, it's ask for help earlier rather than later. You haven't got to be broken or down or out to then ask for help. If you just feel something got an itch, or you got a feeling that isn't quite right, or just on one day you wanted to say something to someone, have a little vent, I think it's really important you reach out there. And the person you reach out to, obviously there's LooseHeadz, they're there, but there's they haven't got to be knowledgeable in what you're talking about. It can be anyone, and it's just having that space to talk about it and having that area to vent. So don't feel like you've got a frustration with rugby, talk to a rugby coach. Frustration with work, talk to your boss, talk to anyone. Just make sure you talk to someone.